Nike has a brand new lifestyle shoe ready to hit the streets, or so they say. So let's go ahead, unbox and review, shall we? Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on the Nike AVA Rover, a brand new lifestyle shoe that is fairly similar and uses tech that we are well aware of, but it does so in an upper that is kind of reminiscent, at least in my opinion, of the Nike GT Cut 3, especially the toe. The toe really looks like the GT Cut 3, at least to me, and those kind of did look like a running shoe, so this is kind of interesting that this is a running-inspired lifestyle sneaker, but it's not specifically made for running. Also interesting is that there's a new box for it. It's not in just a regular sportswear box or whatever, so this is kind of interesting. Not that this box is expensive to make just because it's plain cardboard, but it is interesting nonetheless because there are kind of like the waffle grid patterns that you'll see on the outsole along with the Nike swoosh. So I wonder if this box is going to be used now for running inspired lifestyle sneakers moving forward, or if this packaging is specifically just for this shoe alone. I'm not sure. I do think that it would be interesting either way, so we'll see what happens. Now, before we deep dive into these bad boys, today's video is sponsored by the good folks over at NOBULL, and they wanted us to let you guys know all about the NOBULL Drive. The NOBULL Drive is touted as being the ultimate workout shoe, versatile enough for any type of workout. This hybrid style workout shoe balances the stability needed for strength training while utilizing a Pebax midsole for cushioning. And this Pebax midsole is useful for all of that cardio that you might be implementing into your daily workouts. The NOBULL Drive is offered in 3 different material options: Drive Mesh, which is a lightweight mesh build catering to ventilation and around the foot comfort; Drive Knit, which is a flexible performance knit that offers a sock-like feel; and coming very soon is this all-new Ripstop rendition, which offers an extremely lightweight build that is also durable while offering a supportive lockdown fit.
Excellent.
NOBULL believes this makes the Drive the most versatile workout shoe on the market. Again, versatile enough to take care of any workout. So if you change up your workouts but want one pair of stable and reliable shoes, you can trust that NOBULL will get the job done. And to top it all off, NOBULL is currently offering an exclusive discount, and it's very simple. You just use the promo code DRIVE50 and it'll save you $50 off your purchase of $125 or more. So if you're interested in trying the NOBULL Drive yourself, make sure that you click the link down below in our description box, or use the QR code that you see on the screen right here. Now, with all that being said, like I was saying before, they do really remind me of like a Nike GT Cut 3, but they also remind me of a lifestyle sneaker that we reviewed a long time ago, the Nike React Element 87. Again, we did a review a long time ago when they first came out, and they're kind of doing the same thing with this shoe that they did with that shoe, where they're putting on the newest cushioning and they're putting on a lightweight upper and all that kind of stuff, and they're just making it for casual users. Obviously, this type of tech is available for everybody in performance footwear as well. So if you were looking for a shoe that featured React X cushioning but was specifically for running, we do have plenty of reviews on stuff like that as well. You could look at the Pegasus line or the Vomero line and all that kind of good stuff. Now, the outsole itself is basically a stretch web outsole. That's something that we usually hear with Adidas products, specifically the Ultra Boost, but you can see that they are clearly kind of like ripping it off a little bit here with this shoe. Not in design, but overall like function and stuff. So the design doesn't look like the stretch web that the Ultra Boost would use. Instead, this pays tribute to Nike's heritage with the waffle style outsole. So we've got waffle style lugs throughout, but you can also see that the outsole is webbed. So that's going to offer that stretch and flexibility without restriction. The outsole is fairly thin, so durability long-term might take a hit depending on how you like walk and move. I personally don't drag my feet like I used to when I was a kid. So for me personally, my outsoles tend to last quite a while, but everybody's different. Everyone's stride, I should say. Now moving on up, we have the React X midsole. The design is very interesting. I don't know how to explain this. It looks, I don't want to spoil anything, but this reminds me of the river in Superman.
A little bit.
You know what I mean? Like the digital pixelated thing. Like if you've seen Superman, the new one, that's what this reminds me of. I'm gonna leave it at that just because I don't want to spoil anything for those that may have not seen the movie yet, but that's kind of what this reminds me of. There's actually 2 colorways of this shoe. There's this guy right here, and then there's just like a black and sail version. I think both look really good, but both also give off like a slightly different vibe and everything, even though it's the same exact design. But either way, we've got kind of this pixelated look throughout the midsole. It does move its way on up to the upper, and as far as the way that the React X feels, this feels very good. Like it feels in line with the performance running stuff. So if you're looking for something that's super comfortable, this is probably going to be an option that you might want to look at least for those of you guys that like to stay within the Nike wheelhouse. Obviously, there's other very comfortable shoes from other brands like Asics and New Balance and things like that. But for all you Nike lovers, here you go. There is a heel to toe drop. It is fairly drastic or steep, although you don't notice it too much in this shoe. Like you don't feel like your toes are getting like shoved into the front of the shoe, but it is visually apparent as well as just there. You know what I mean? So it's not anything bad. It's just pretty standard. I'm just letting you guys know that it's pretty steep drop off. This is the insole. This is an interesting insole because I have not seen an orange one before. So I think that this is kind of cool. It's not a premium insole, but it's also not a complete piece of shit. So this is kind of like somewhere right in the middle. It actually reminds me of New Balance's insoles, you know what I mean? Like the footbed especially, where there's different pieces, even though there aren't different pieces in this, it is just one piece of foam. So it's an Ortholite styled open cell foam, but it is more along the darker blue Ortholite line where it's kind of more dense, but not as dense as those. I'd say that this is kind of like in between the light blue and the dark blue. It just so happens to be orange. But you can take this out, swap it out for anything else that you'd like if you wanted to. So if you wanted to add a little bit more resilient bounce to your step, you can do that with something like a Move Baseline insole, or if you needed arch support, you can use one of the Move Game Days, or if you wanted a more snappy ride, you could check out the Aurora insole by Aris. This one has an engineered running plate, which is a carbon fiber spring plate. So this is put in their super shoes, but intended for casual purposes. So again, this will give you like a little bit of a pep in your step. Or you could just leave this in the shoe and you'll be fine. Now the upper on these guys is where like I would say like they're very reminiscent of that Element 85 as well as the GT cuts. The GT cuts are a lot more structured. This is a lot softer of a build. Obviously it's for casual use, not intended for like basketball and lateral movements and things like that. So very much in line with the Element 87 where there's less structure and it's made for comfort. So it's a lightweight kind of like textile build. This digital piece that I was talking about that like connects to the midsole is really cool just because it's like a rubberized piece. So it's like, I don't know how to explain it. You know Choco Tacos? I don't know why my brain does this, but Choco Tacos, bro. I think they're discontinued. But how you got the shell dipped in like a light shell of chocolate, that's what this reminds me of. It's like they dipped the shoe in like a really light coating of rubber and it's cool. But yeah, nothing really premium about these. It's just built for everyday lifestyle use. The tongue is probably my least favorite thing. It's one of those like really thin felt style tongues, but there is padding and targeted padding on top of that. So it's supposed to be something that's very lightweight, but also good for casual use and, you know, lace pressure and all that kind of. The lacing system is interesting though, because instead of it being external or just being standard like hole punched eyelets, they're actually internal as a hitting lacing system, but they're still using the Flywire-esque looking thing, just a threaded lacing, you know what I mean? Like this is stuff that none of us really loved on specific Air Jordans or basketball shoes. And anytime we ever like see it on a performance product, everybody always kind of rolls their eyes. They're like, man, I can't wait till those break. Being on a lifestyle shoe, I think it's more appropriate just because less force is applied because you're not like running around in these things. The shoe itself is fairly gusseted, but it's not really attached until you get to right at this midfoot point. So entry of the shoe is super easy. You could probably keep these laced really loosely and still be good to go. And just in case you were wondering, there is a really cool like reflective element right here on the heel. And when you turn the flash off, it's the same exact color as the upper. So you can't really see it until the light hits it. Now, as far as sizing is concerned, I would go true to size for most. I think that that's going to be the most accommodating style of fit. The materials are thin and weak enough to really just mold around anyone's foot shape. But if possible, go in store and try them on for yourself just to make sure. If you're local here to the Sacramento or Elk Grove area, Phenom will be carrying them and they will have them available in both colorways. Now, with all that being said, what is today's user submitted question of the day? Oh my goodness, what's happening?
I'm taking over.
Okay, go ahead.
Only
Make it quick.
Only because you did touch on it, and I had already decided on this before you touched on it, but we did discuss your thoughts going into the movie.
Superman?
Yes.
Okay.
So you've already seen it. Give the people some thoughts on it now.
Spoiler free?
Sure, just in case.
Was there really anything spoilery in the movie though?
I mean, is the good guy gonna win? Probably.
Spoiler alert. You know what I mean? Like, my first thought when I got out of the theater was that was weird. This is a movie or a genre of film that I absolutely love. Like, I will usually not go to the theaters unless it's a comic book movie, you know what I mean? So myself being a huge comic book nerd and Superman fan, for me to come out of that thinking, what the was that? You know what I mean? Was like really jarring, and it like was a mind where I was like, I don't know if I liked this or not. And it took me a little bit to realize that I did like it. I just was not expecting that. And what I mean by that is that this movie is, as far as like comic book films are concerned, is very different than anything else that we've been accustomed to. I had compared it to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, where that's the only comic book film, I feel anyways, that was built in a real world that was also super fantastical, borderline corny. Where if you're looking at the visual aesthetics of Batman the Animated Series, like you look like you're in the 40s, even though it's very modern feeling even today. It has like tech gadgets and things like that because of Batman, the Batmobile, all the right? So like it's science fiction and fantasy or whatever, like, you know, that comic book world, while also being placed in a world that was real at one point, but maybe is not real today. And that's how Spider-Man felt. And this Superman movie was different than all of that stuff, where you've got the BVS universe or the Snyderverse, you've got the X-Men universe from Fox, you've got the current Marvel universe, where they definitely make you feel like you're in a real world setting, but there just so happens to be people running around in costumes. Superman was different than all of that. Superman was, no, we're gonna take you out of the real world and we're gonna put you inside of a DC comic book. We're not gonna warn you though. So what I'm trying to say is like, I just wasn't prepared for the level of nerd that I was about to go and dive into, you know what I mean? It took me probably until like halfway through the film to realize, oh, we're not here, we're there. You know what I mean? It's like we like are watching something else, which we are, but like when a film is so immersive, like the Dark Knight series, and you're like, yeah, I could be Batman. That's how that movie makes you feel. This movie was different, where it's like, I'm not Superman, I'm not Guy Gardner or Mr. Terrific, and not only am I not any of these people, but they don't exist here either. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that feels even remotely real. So yeah, so you have to like go in there with a sense of disbelief. 100%. I felt like an idiot at that halfway point, being like, man, I watched Creature Commandos, and that's the beginning, according to, you know, James Gunn and DC and all that stuff, of this new connected DC universe. You know what I'm saying? Like where like the cartoons, the video games, the shows, and the movies are all going to be connected. So Peacemaker, all this stuff, it's all together. They might be all different mediums, but they are all in the same overall space and universe. And I just thought it was like super weird because like Creature Commandos, it took me like 2 or 3 episodes to be like, this is what the DCU is going to be like, to where like by the time I got to that 4th episode, I was like, this show is awesome. So if you've seen Creature Commandos and Peacemaker and you have not yet seen Superman, just know that that's what you're getting. Like that's that flavor that you're getting. You're getting, this isn't us, this is the DCU. This is not the DCU here, you know what I mean? This is not a realistic take of anything. This is like straight up like turning the page in a comic book and it comes to life in front of your eyes. It was wild to see. But what about you guys? What did you think about Superman? If you saw it, sound off below and let us know. On top of all of that, let me know what you think about the Nike AVA Rover. I will say, like, it's a little weird that they're not called like the Nike React X AVA Rover or something like that, where they're not talking about the tech in the name. So that's a little strange, but that's neither here nor there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We will catch you guys in the next one. So until then, you guys have a good one.